him. Uh, let's start with break down the bread of life. Hymn 263. 263. 263. I don't know how to sing it well, so if I'm fumble here and there, pick me up and sing it right. Let's sing. Break thou the bread of life, dear Lord, to me. As thou did break the loaves beside the sea, beyond the sacred page, I seek thee, Lord, my spirit pant for thee, O living well. Bless thou the truth, the Lord, to me, as thou did bless the bread by Galilee. Then shall abundance cease, all fetters fall, and I shall find my peace, my all in all. Thou art the bread of life, O Lord, to me. Thy holy word, the truth that saveth me. Give me to eat and live with thee above. Teach me to love thy truth, for thou art love. Oh, send thy spirit, Lord, now unto me, that he may touch my eyes and make me see. Show me the truth concealed within thy word, and in thy book reveal I see thee, Lord. Let's sing hymn 226. Oh, praise the gracious. Let me find it. 226. Oh, praise the gracious power. Let's sing. Oh, praise the gracious power that humble walls of fear and gathers in one house of faith, a stranger far and near. Oh, praise persistent truth that opens twisted minds and eases from their anxious clutch the prejudice that blinds. to talk about this inner beauty. Let's stop right here now, and if we have enough time at the end of our study together, then we sing more songs to bring us to the Lord our God. We're going to sing now, we are going to read it. It is a song, but we're going to read it. Psalm 1. We're going to start from Psalm 1. Psalm 1. We read it the last time. It says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." Verse 4. "The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish." So let's quickly look at this. Here, God, the words of God through the psalmist is telling us whom we shall not be. You remember the last time we came together, we said we should be like God himself. So here he is telling you whom we should not be. He's calling us all back to the 10 Commandments. He's calling us all back to whom God said he is. And whom, if we are not with God, then we will be like these people from verse 4 to verse 6. So he said, blessed is the man. I want you to remember that word blessed. Because when the words of God bless you, the blessing abideth in you. And unto whom this blessing should abide with forever, this kind of people should not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. And you know that those who are ungodly are those who are not keeping the commandments of God. The ungodly people have nothing to do with the will of God. So if you want to be a godly people and you want to have the blessing of God, you will not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. I don't know where I dropped my pen. But let's continue. He said we should not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. We should not stand in the way of the sinners. And we explain who are the sinners in the 10 Commandments. If you are keeping the commandments of God, you are not a sinner. But if you are not keeping the commandments of God, then you are a sinner. And God himself spoke to us about who are the sinners and why he will not forgive them unless they ask for forgiveness. So the sinners are the people that are not keeping the commandments of God. And he told us part of what they do. When we come down in this chapter, he said, blessed are those who are not standing in the way of the sinners, and they are not sitting in the seat of the scornful. So if you know a group of people that have that spirit of scornful, I call it scornfulness, and don't you mind my English if it's not correct. People who like to prejudice settings to diminish their fellow men, settings to deprive their fellow men of whatever glory or peace or joy that God gives unto them. The scornful people, they like to say words or laugh unnecessarily to bring people's heart low, to diminish the joy and peace of other people, to make other people feel so little among them. So, this chapter is calling you that you should not walk in the counsel of the people that hate God or do the will of the devil. The people that are scornful, the people that break the law of God, the people that hate others, the people who like to congregate to talk about what they should do to other people to make them feel bad, to make them feel little, to take away their joy, and their glory and their peace. The words of God is asking us not to sit in the congregation of those kind of people. Don't sit in the congregation of liars and of the congregation of unjust. Don't sit in the congregation of the people who come together to devise how to destroy the life of others or destroy the joy and peace of others. These blessed people, this group of people that don't sit in the seat of the ungodly, and they don't stand in the way of sinners, and they don't sit together to prejudice against others or be scornful against others. Verse 2 said, their delight, he said that their delight is in the law of the Lord. They read the words of God and they live by it. And their hearts search for what will make God happy, what will please God. Their heart always search for who is my God, my creator, and what is it that he desired of me. Their heart delights in the law of God. We read the law of God in Exodus chapter 20. And we can find it in Deuteronomy, in verse Deuteronomy chapter 28. Actually went deep to what the law really said and the repercussion of it if we don't keep it. That is Deuteronomy chapter 28. But but his delight, her delight, whosoever that person may be, a man or woman or children, their delight is in the law of the Lord. And in the law of the Lord doth he or she meditate day and night. So that means that anything they do, they weigh it in the balance of God. The commandments of God is the standard of our life. By it we shall be. We are daily judged on this earth, and by it we shall be finally judged in heaven. So, in whatever we do or say, in whatever act we put forth, in our actions, in our look, in the words that we let come out of our mouth, among the abundance that is in our hearts, we weigh everything before we say it or do it in the balance of God. And the balance of God is the commandments of God. So he said, and his law doth he meditate day and night. Am I doing the will of God? My action towards my fellow men or women or children or my neighbor, is it according to the will of God? Am I walking according to the will of God? Is my thought, the thoughts of my heart towards other people, is it according to the law of God? So we weigh whatever we do. That is how we meditate day and night in the law of God. And that is when we read the law of God and we choose to walk according to the will of God, God come, he write his commandments in our hearts. And in everything we do, our heart weight, he put us in balance. He called us when we are deviating from it. The words of God call us back. He said, you are breaking this law. And if we are breaking another, he said, we are breaking another law. And he will tell you exactly the law you are breaking. Because it's written in our heart. In fact, it's been written in our heart before we come into the world. Because the breath of God that was breathed in us is the breath of life that carries the traits of God, the will of God, the power of God. Is in that breath that was breathed into us. We are supposed to come here and do the will of God according to how God empowered us. And verse 3 said, and he shall be. Now, this is the blessing. Because in verse 1, he said, blessed is the man. You know, Bible says man. In most of the words you see in the Bible, because Adam was created first. And Eve was taken out of the bone of Adam. So both Eve and Adam are referred to as man. For if I'm not breaking it down to say man and woman to cut the time short, just know that when I read it as it says here, man, you know, it's man, woman, and every human being on earth. Now the blessing he said in verse 1, verse 3 is now coming to explain it to us. He said, and he shall be like the tree planted by the rivers of God, by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. I told you before that I come from Riverside in Nigeria, in Ondo State. And I come where most of what we do depends on the river. We, the Ilaje people, and the Ijaw people, live either on top of the river or beside the river. And all the trees you see in the river, they are always evergreen. And they bring forth their leaves and their fruits in their season. They never wither. They live for many, 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 many years on earth. That is why the words of God in another verse said, in one of the blessings, that the life of those who do the will of God will be like the life of the tree. Those trees live for many, many years on earth. Generation upon generation come to meet them there. So the blessing of God on you, when you do the will of God, and you run away from being scornful, from being a sinner that refused to keep the commandments of God, and you run away from those who live by the will of the devil, and you don't sit with them, and you don't congregate with them, and you don't devise their evil with them, your life will be a blessing that flow like river itself. A blessing that is like the blessing that is upon the trees that stand in the river, whose leaf never wither. When you see a leaf drop off from those trees, go and pick it and look at it. They are leaves that have lived many years and lived their days completed on the tree, and they drop off. And before they drop off, many other leaves already replace them. So your generation, unto the 4th, 5th, and 6th generation, might meet you on earth to seek and to follow your good will, to follow you as you are doing the will of God. If you decided to choose God instead of devil, if you decided to do the will of God instead of doing the will of the devil, if you decided to keep the commandments of God, your fruits, he he said, it bringeth forth his fruit in season. That is, your children and children will come into the world and you will never be barren. And at the right season, they will come and live with the glory of God upon them. His leaf also shall not wither. Your children will not die in your presence. Your children will live a long, many years on earth. They will live their life completed, and you yourself will live your life completed on earth according to how God giveth it unto you. And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Anything you lay your heart on to do will prosper. Anything you lay your hand on to do will prosper. Anything you desire in your heart, you will receive it from God. Even most of the time before you ask, you will receive it. Nothing will be difficult for you on earth. And whatsoever you needed or you will needed on earth, God will already find a way to prosper you, to provide it for you and for your generations to come. You shall be blessed and your generations to come shall be blessed. But the ungodly, those people who refuse to do the will of God, are not so. Their life is the cause from God. They are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. I use this seed as an example of the chaff the last time, like a rice. When rice comes, it comes in this pocket, in this little pocket. The pocket has to be broken. When they break the pocket, they all broke open, the rice come in, and the pocket needs to be blown away. You cannot eat it. Use that as a chaff. You blow it away. When we deal with rice in my country, we don't just pick the sand out. We lift it up in the pan, and all the chaff blow away. We blow it. When we blow it all away, and you see the chaff, they never have peace of mind. The wind carry it and drop it. It carries away and drop it. And it will carry it and drop it. And that is how it will carry it from one place to the other and continue to drop it. The chaff never have peace of mind. And they never have a permanent place of abode. And nobody wants to be like them. But the words of God is declaring unto us that the life of the ungodly people, the life of those who refuse God, and the life of those who refuse to keep the commandments of God, their life will be like the chaff that are drifted away by the wind. No comfort, no peace. They are not established to do good. Even when they acquire goodness of any kind in this world, because devil always find a way to give power and position and good things to the people who are doing his will, because he likes to pet them. What devil does is trying to do everything to comfort the people who do his will until the end, because he knew that the end of he himself, the devil, and the end of those who follow him is going to be perished in the fire of God that burns with brimstone. And for that reason, as he deceived many people to do evil, as he deceived many people to walk in the way of unrighteousness, he tried to lift them up. He tried to put them in the position, in higher position. Most of them acquire their position by lying, by pushing position, or by with evil thoughts and evil words, with false witness, they push somebody away from their position so that they can acquire it. The evil people, you never see goodness in them. You see them always spoiling what belongs to others, always destroying the life of others so that they can make themselves beloved by evil people like them, or be great to acquire higher and higher positions. Recently we see many that are falling from glory because they refuse to keep the law of God. They committed adultery. They bribed to get their position or to acquire one thing or the other. We see them falling in our society. Why? Because they refuse to keep the law of God that said, thou shalt not commit adultery. The ungodly, verse 4, are not so, but are like the shaft which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. I want you to put a sign on that. I find my pen. I know I put it around here. The ungodly are not so. They walk in the way of sinners. They cannot stand in the way in the standard of God, because the standard of God, the judgment of God, is based on the commandments of God. And this group of people cannot stand in the judgment of God, because they will find wanting when the commandments of God is laid down at the end of their life to judge them. You see, at the end of our life, we breathe out what God breathed into us. My neighbor here, I'm going to use him as an example. And I'm sorrowful for him. At the same time, I'm using his life as a good example for you to prosper. My neighbor is an old man. Yesterday I come back from the store, and as I was picking the things at the back of my car to take them into the house, my second neighbor here called on me. Hello neighbor, she said. Hello neighbor, and I said, hello neighbor, how are you? And she walked towards me, and I said, my neighbor is coming. We're going to talk. We're going to have something to talk about. Because sometimes we face each other, we have the fence, our fence here, in between us, and we will stand each in their own land, and we will talk. So I said, my neighbor is coming, because she was walking towards me. And I said, my neighbor is coming, we're going to have something to talk about. And then when she got to me, we greeted each other, we talked about the grocery I have, and then she said, Mr. Everett had died, and my heart just sank, and I just quickly put everything in my hand down. Mr. Everett is my second neighbor at the other side of me here, and he's an old man, and I thank God for him that he lived a long life on earth. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to know that no matter how long you live on earth, the day will come when you will give that spirit that holds you up. I will give the spirit that hold me up, that allow me and you to talk every day, we will give that spirit back to God who gave it to us. That day, that powerful day, when it comes, you and I want that day to meet us in righteousness. You and I want that day to be a day, the most glorious day in our life. Either the people that surround us know it or not. Because that is the day that we return back to God. And we leave the soil that we call our body here on earth. That is a fearful day. That is the day when everything that we've been doing on earth, either words or thoughts or behavior, work, anything that we do on earth, that is the day we carry it in that little pocket we call our heart. That pocket will be here, by the power of God that dwell inside that pocket, that allow our blood to flow and allow us to be whom we said we are, the real us. That is the day it comes out of us. We breathe it out back to God. And it carry all that we have done on earth. It will not leave one of it. It carries it all back to God. From the day that we were conceived to the day that we breathe our life, and we breathe it out, and people say, oh, she died, oh, he died. From that day, everything we have done from the day that we were conceived till the day we breathe out our last, it will carry it all and take it back to God. And before God, he said, this is me. Like me, mine will say, this is me. I might say, Morayo, or La, like people call me. Some say Ruth. But God have another name for me. The name that he gave me when he created me. God had another name for you. The name he gave you when he created you. With all the number of hair he put on your head and everything that he created with you, all by its own number, you have a name that God gave unto you. If they say Ruth, billions of Ruth will answer in heaven. So God don't call you Ruth. God is not going to call me Ruth. He's going to call me by the very name he gave me when he created me. He's going to call you by the very name he gave you when he created you. So when I get back to God, I'm going to say, here I am, by my name. And my name now will be looked for in the book of God. In fact, it will be like an automatic. Like you just put a certain number on a computer and it just pull out what you need. That is how it's going to be. Automatically, my name is said and it will show in the book of life. And if I have not done what God required of me, if I have not lived my life to please God, if I have not lived according to the scale of God, which is his commandments, my name will not appear in the book of life. So let me read it to you again. He said, therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Only the righteous will have their name in the book of life. I have told you before, and I will say it again. You have, and I have two books in front of me. The book that I am writing right now, the book of my life, the book that I have been writing from the day I was conceived, and I will write it until the day that I breathe my life, the end of my life, like my neighbor, my good neighbor here, breathed his last breath yesterday, they said. I will breathe, when I breathe my last breath on earth, and people say I die. my book will be closed. And then my spirit carry it back to God. And when my name is called, it must be found in the book of life. So the book that I'm writing on earth is my book of life. It's my earthly book. That is the book that will be judged. And the book that God created for me, when he created me, that book hold everything that I have done on earth. That book is called the Book of Life. So the book that my spirit brought from earth will be compared with the book that God have when he created me. Whether or not I fulfill all that God required of me, keeping his commandment and walking in his way, and use my talents as he gave it unto me, my life that my spirit brought from earth will be compared with the book of God that he had written for me the day he created me. And if I felt all the balance of God, if my life is not compatible with the commandments of God, with the love and kindness and goodness of God, and I have not done what God asked me to do, and I have been in the life of the ungodly people, my name will not show in the book of life. And what happened to that name that is not shown in the book of life is what the reason why I'm talking to you today. Because when your name or my name or anybody's name is not found in the book of life, that life, that person will be trashed into the lake fire of God that is burned with brimstone. Today, I was reading, I think it's Isaiah 35. Let me see if I find it quick. Not in this Bible. I put a sign on it. In Isaiah 35 here, it talks about, I'm not going to read it, but if you read it, you will see that it talks about, it's like the return of Jesus Christ at the time of judgment, what will happen. And how the vengeance, let me read it from verse 3 to, I should have read it all the way to verse 10, but to just let you see what will happen here. He said, strengthen ye the weak hands, and confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, even God with our recompense. He will come and save you. So it's telling you who you should be. One that strengthens your neighbor's hand. One that do everything that you can do to make your neighbor's life at peace. One that walk in the way of God. One that keep the commandments of God. One that will fulfill all that God required of him. The judgment started from Isaiah chapter 34, right there is where it started. And it talks about how those who did not do the will of God will be burned with brimstone. I'm not going to read it further because when you read it, you will see that it is what God going to do through Jesus Christ when God come back to judge the earth, to put everything into the balance, to put down Isaiah 34 and Isaiah 35. There you will see what God required of you, and if you don't do it, how he said that he will displace that person, and in the indignation of God's power, he will burn that person off with a fire that burned with brimstone. He said, in this chapter here, he actually talking about nations of people. So it's not just oh, he's talking about Zion, oh, he's talking about somebody, he's talking about all of us, people of the earth. And we should seek, he said, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, verse 16 of 34, and read it, he said. No one else shall fail, nor shall want have made. For my mouth it had commanded, and his spirit it had gathered them. Well, you have to read it from verse 1 to the end, chapter 34 and 35. And there you will see the indignation of God unto those who refuse to keep God's commandments, or to those who are referred to as the ungodly people that shall not stand in the judgment. There, in that Isaiah 35 and 34, is where the judgment of the nations are proclaimed. And if you go and read Isaiah 34, like I had told you before, you will see also how the nations shall be judged, and the whole earth shall be judged. But you don't want to see the indignation of God. That is why the little me come to shout and to tell you about God's love, about God's goodness, about God's mercy, about God's blessings that he has prepared for you and for me if we do his will. Because the ungodly shall not stand on the day of God's judgment, on the day of God's indignation. The ungodly will not stand, and sinners will not be found among the righteous people. The righteous people, when they resurrected from death, they go into the city of God that Jesus preached unto us and called it the kingdom of God. Life eternal. They never die again. They live forever and ever in the joy of God. Their life is even more than the tree that standeth in the river. But the ungodly shall perish. Okay? They shall never be found in the garden of God. They shall never be found in the city of God. Read Isaiah chapter 35 and chapter 34. Verse 6 says, for the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Perish. It's not just perish like that. Jesus declared unto us, I believe it's in Psalm 17? Where he's talking about Lazarus. I should go forward. Where he was talking about Lazarus and, it's not Psalm, but St. Luke chapter 17, where he's talking about Lazarus and the rich man. There Jesus Christ himself proclaimed unto us the judgment of the earth. And I want you to look at your life and say, am I going to burn in hellfire of God? Is my life compatible with the law of God? Am I one of the people that will become stick in the burning fire of God? and check yourself. By asking those questions, you put yourself in the balance of God. You look at the commandments of God and say, is my life wanting? Am I among the holy and righteous people that bear the traits of God? Or have I deviated from it? Am I a follower of the devil? Am I doing the will of the devil? Or am I doing the will of God? Put yourself in balance and then look at the words of God in Psalm 1 and then look at how God said judgment shall be in this St. Luke, the book of St. Luke. It's chapter 16. Chapter 16. St. Luke chapter 16. You read there and you see what the end of life will be. For many people, they tell you there is no hell anywhere and there is no judgment anywhere. Some will even go as far as saying there is no God. But God himself make it clear unto us. And he said he will not repent until he consume all the sinners of the land that he created and then replenish the earth. He will make sure that he drop this sinful earth that you and I have made our sin to make unholy. He will drop it off his ear because by his wonderful power, the earth is rotating on its axis on the air. And here we stand upon the earth, rotating day and night by the power of God. But we refuse to acknowledge the power that hold us up on top of the earth, and we turn upside down and go around, and we don't fall. We refuse to acknowledge this great power. And day by day, as God is doing his will, he drops some, he builds, puts new ones on earth. For the new ones that come to the earth, they come to do the will of God, if they will do the will of God. And for those who are dropped off the land of God that we call the earth, they face the judgment of God. And you and I have to ask ourselves, are we going to receive the mercy of God through Jesus Christ that day? That mercy, that precious mercy that God gave unto us through Jesus Christ to redeem us from everlasting damnation, to redeem us from the last judgment. The reason why Jesus come and shout and proclaim the commandments of God and say, keep the commandments of God. The rich man said, what shall I do to enter eternal life? He said, keep the commandments of God. Everybody that asked him, he said, keep the commandments of God. Struggle all the days of your life to keep the commandments of God. Take hold of eternal life. Do the will of God. Or else you will perish with the ungodly. And there is no other thing that God required of you other than what he has spoken through his own mouth, through his own breath, his commandments. By it, he will judge you and me. You see, your lawyers and your judges of the earth, they judge you the day that they say you stole something, or you kill somebody, or you commit adultery with somebody's wife. They judge you by the commandments of God. But they tell you, you don't need the commandments of God in your father and mother's house. If your father and your mother try to cane you for doing something that is wrong, they put you in jail. They say they abuse you. When you go to school, these commandments of God are supposed to be proclaimed. The Bible is supposed to be read in the Bible in the schools. They take the Bible out of the school. And when children don't hear the parents teaching them commandments of God. And when devil find a way to harvest them from wherever they are, and they face the judge judge them by the commandments of God, that they never train them and they never allow the parents to train them. As a parent, don't let the book called the Bible get out of your hand. Day by day, night by night, open it and read it to your children. Open it and let your children know what is in it. As they grow up and they begin to read, open the Bible to them and tell them to read it to you. And you tell them, you explain to them what it says. And as they grow up and they are able to understand, let them read it and explain it to you. And then you correct them on whatever they say that is not right as they explain it to you. By doing that, you are planting the commandments of God, the law of God, and the love of God, which is the root of all the commandments of God. You are planting it in their hearts. And you let them grow up with it. Wherever they go on the surface of the earth, they will never deviate from it. Even if devil come and try to push them away from it, the ways of God will rise in their hearts and call them back unto the will of God. The commandments of God is the platform, the standard by which all human beings shall be judged. And this chapter 1 of Psalm 1, chapter 1 is telling you how blessed you will be if you will do the will of God. He's promising you eternal life. He's promising you generations of long-living people. People that are blessed from generation to generation. He's promising you life eternal. He's promising you your presence in the presence of God. Standing, worshiping God, and rejoicing forever and ever in eternal life. And he's declaring to you that if you don't live by it, you will face the judgment of God. We will be coming back again and again later on to Psalm 1. Plant it in your heart that the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment. That is in the judgment of God. The last judgment, when Jesus Christ will come and judge us on earth. The ungodly people will be banished into the hellfire. The sinners, not the sinners in the congregation of the righteous. The sinners will be in the hellfire burning, and the righteous people will be in heaven, everlasting peace. The place where God had prepared for us from the beginning of the earth. And theirs is glory and peace and joy forever. And whatsoever they want, they receive it instantly. They will never be sick. They will never cry. They will never have any reason to die. Because there will be no more death there. That is one reason why you should read Isaiah 35 and 34. Read it. You will see what I'm telling you right there. Coming from this verse, chapter 1 of Psalm. You will see it in Isaiah chapter 34 and 35. There you will see the judgment of the ungodly, and you will see the everlasting joy of the godly people. And remember, the godly people are those who do the will of God, who keep the commandments of God. Psalm 15. Psalm 15 said, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? And verse 2 said, He that walk uprightly, and walketh righteousness, and speaketh the truth in his heart. He be scornful. He walk righteousness uprightly, speak truth in his heart towards all people. He that bibiteth not with his tongue. He does not destroy other people with his own tongue, with his own mouth, with the thoughts, the evil thoughts of his heart. Nor does evil, nor doeth evil to his neighbor. Write it down, make a mark on it. Nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor. Whom are we talking about? We are talking about who we abide in the tabernacle of God. Who are those people we will find in life eternal? In the city of God that Jesus called the New Jerusalem, that Jesus called the kingdom of God. Who will be there? Who will be in the city of God rejoicing and proclaiming the glory of God and worshiping him and have the everlasting joy? If we have time, I will still read part of that Isaiah chapter 35 for you. In whose eyes a vile person is contemned. He's not the kind of people that we stand behind evildoers. Some people, when they see somebody that's provoking other people and do evil to other people, they stand by their back. They teach them more what to do, what more evil they can do to make that person suffer. To make that person be unhappy. To put contempt in the life of that person. They stand behind them like a bad bone, telling them, do this and do that. And that person will be sorry for his or her life. But whosoever will stand in the city of God, whosoever will be there, be blessed by God, and live everlasting life, and live with the righteous and holy people in the presence of God and Jesus Christ, they will not bite with their own tongue. They will not do evil to their neighbor. They will not reproach their neighbor. In their eyes, the evil people will be declared evil. Their evil work will be declared. They will not have anything to do with evil people than to call them back to God, telling them the evil they are doing and telling them to turn away, repent. Verse 4 says, in whose eyes a vile person is contemned, but he honored them that fear God. That is, he said, you telling evil people, that which you are doing is evil, is bad. It will make your neighbor cry. It will make your neighbor sorrowful. It will make your neighbor, and you have to remember that everybody in the whole wide world is your neighbor. Either they have purple eyes or purple body or purple eye or hair, it doesn't matter. God created every one of us as his own neighbor, as his own, his himself. That is how he created us. And I wanted to call you to my flower today. You see this flower?